How much power did Gohan lose during the 7 years between the Cell Saga and the Buu Saga? In this video, we're going to discuss that. Hey guys, if you're new to this channel, then make sure to subscribe and enable all notifications, so you can see all of my videos and community posts right away when they come out. So joining me in this video is someone you've seen on my content in the past, an up-and-coming YouTuber whose channel is called
MJxTV, and I like how you call me up-and-coming when I've been on here since 2015. I appreciate that.
Of course. So let's get into this video here today, where we're going to be talking about a question that fans have had on their minds ever since the Buu Saga of Dragon Ball Z began, which is, how much power did Gohan lose between the Cell Saga and the Buu Saga? Because as we know, during his fight against Perfect Cell, Gohan unleashed his hidden power and achieved the next level of Super Saiyan, known as Super Saiyan 2, the perfect next evolution of the Super Saiyan form, until Toriyama retconned that. And during his fight, he was so incredibly powerful compared to Perfect Cell that he was basically just one-shotting this guy. He was hitting him with casual-looking attacks and making him puke out blood, and even eventually Android 18 herself, which caused him to regress through his forms. So it's pretty obvious here, MJ, that Gohan's power was incredible, but I think that there's actually a good argument to be made that Gohan wasn't even using his full 100% power against Perfect Cell or even Super Perfect Cell during their fight.
I think people have to understand, Gohan in the Cell arc was an absolute beast. He was a monster. And one thing that people also have to realize is, even just regular full power Super Saiyan Gohan was already a beast in his own right. People have to remember this. This is stated in the anime, this is stated in the manga. Gohan was stronger than Goku in his full power form. Gohan was stronger than Goku pre-Super Saiyan 2. This is stated to us because Gohan questions, hey, you were going all out against Cell, weren't you not? And then Goku says, I don't know about Cell, but I was doing my absolute best. So to you, it looked like I wasn't really trying, huh? And then Gohan responds, yeah. Gohan was already at a level beyond Goku before he even went up against Cell. And this is also backed up by Perfect Cell again in the manga, where after Gohan powers up, he shocks everybody on the cliff, and Perfect Cell straight up says, perhaps what Son Goku said wasn't just a bluff after all. And then he says, it's still a joke that he can fight me, but I better kill him now before he can land a blow. So even Perfect Cell was contemplating the idea that he may need to finish this fight faster than expected, and that Goku may have been right about Gohan being stronger than Goku. And again, that's just Super Saiyan Gohan Master, that's just full power. So I do agree with you in the sense that Gohan was far more powerful than any version of Cell in his Super Saiyan 2 form, because he was already a beast in just his Super Saiyan form alone.
Yeah, and another great example is after Gohan becomes a Super Saiyan 2, and Cell reveals, oh, well, I've been holding back the entire time, and he powers up to such a degree that Goku, the person who just fought him as a Super Saiyan, is shocked by just how much power he was holding back. But even then, Gohan just completely laughs it off and says, is that all? Is that all you have? And he still proceeds to just completely wreck Cell. So Cell is just completely outmatched here by Gohan, who really doesn't seem like he's trying and probably not going all out. And then you have the scene where Cell returns after his self-destruction as Super Perfect Cell, and despite sensing his power, Gohan says, oh, well, now I can finish this fight and kill you myself. So Gohan is still confident he can win. Now, of course, there is the scene where Gohan injures his arm trying to save Vegeta from a blast and says that Cell was more powerful than he thought. However, this seems to be more of an example of Gohan underestimating Cell rather than overestimating his own abilities. So I don't think there's any point where Cell was stronger than 100% Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, which is also backed up by what happened during the Kamehameha clash. Now, Gohan said that he lost over half of his power when his arm was injured. However, this wasn't really the case. Rather, all of this came down to Gohan's mental state. He believed that he had lost and failed everyone, which impacted his power, because the mental state has a significant influence on the output of someone's ki. So if you're balanced and centered, you're more powerful than if you're conflicted.
It's very similar to Jiren in Dragon Ball Super, where Frieza kept hitting him and hitting him over and over in such a sore spot, you know, when it came to his mental state. And then he just finished his fight with Goku, that after a certain point, he just lost the will to fight, and he needed his Pride Trooper comrades, Toppo and everybody, to kind of back him up because he just lost the will to fight, and even Frieza got the upper hand on him. So the mental part does play into this. Gohan was mentally defeated, but he wasn't overpowered by Cell.
Ultimately, Gohan, when he unleashed his full power, was able to vaporize Cell. And if Cell really was more powerful than Gohan at this point, you figure that he would have at least been able to either get out of the way, ramp up his power to full to deflect it, or somehow be able to tank the attack.
We should address the statement from Piccolo, where Piccolo is kind of the guy who keeps telling us, oh man, can Gohan do this? Oh man, Cell's too powerful. Oh, I wish I had enough power to help Gohan. At the end of the day, people have to remember, it was Goku who trained with Gohan. It was Goku who saw his full power. It was Goku in the anime who witnessed just how much of a beast Gohan was and realized that this is the key to defeating Cell. Piccolo never saw any of this. Even though I know people like to make the meme that Piccolo is the better dad and this and that, no matter how much he cared for Gohan, he couldn't see what Gohan really was. And that's the difference, is that Goku did. That's why Goku's statements hold up more, because at the end of the day, Goku was the one that was right when he said, you haven't used all your power yet, and guess what? When Gohan did, look what happened.
So this leads into the 7-year time skip, which takes place directly after the Cell Saga. Of course, this was supposed to be a period of peace, but at the same time, so was Dragon Ball Super's 10-year time skip, and we saw what happened there. But for what we've been led to believe, Gohan didn't really train during this period of time. He basically just figured that there was no real threats left because Goku gave his existence on Earth as a preventative measure to make sure that no villains would ever show up again. Of course, they did end up showing up out of nowhere with Kebede and Dabura, who wanted to resurrect Majin Buu. And at this point, Gohan had gotten kind of rusty, not only in terms of his power, but also in terms of his fighting ability.
What's interesting is, even though there was a shift in the series and Goku was dead, you had Gohan and we followed him in his daily life and we followed what he did, very much taking on the role of what we would assume is the main character, the MC for Dragon Ball. And even though that's the case, there was constant statements and belittling of Gohan by Vegeta even prior to the tournament. There was multiple times where Gohan visited Capsule Corp and you would have Vegeta like remark, "You look out of shape, never get soft in time of peace." And Vegeta would tell him, "You were once more powerful than I, but how about now? I've kept up my training and you've just been sitting here in times of peace." So Vegeta seems to be very confident in his ability to actually defeat Buu Saga Gohan. And this is a completely different tune than what Vegeta was singing during the Cell arc, you know? So it's very interesting to think to how much power he actually did lose. But I will say this for sure, from everything that we've seen up until the fight with Fat Buu and all the statements given, you still have to put Gohan as the number 3 guy. Goku, Vegeta, then Gohan. That's just how it goes. And we'll get more into that a little bit later, but he still seems to be the strongest person on Earth if you don't count Vegeta.
But the first time we really get a glimpse of what Gohan's power is at this point is when he goes face to face with Kebede and becomes a Super Saiyan 2, and everyone's shocked, except for Vegeta and Goku, with Vegeta mentioning that Gohan was a lot stronger during the fight against Cell. So this is our first real idea that Gohan has lost power. However, because of what happens afterwards, specifically when we get to Kebede's ship and Gohan encounters Dabura, it seems that much of this power loss is overstated by fans, and I don't think that Gohan got multiple times weaker.
So what's interesting about Dabura and Kebede, and this goes along with what I was telling you guys earlier, and that is the fact that no matter how much power you think Gohan lost, he is still number 3. The order is Goku, Vegeta, and Gohan. And a good example of this is Dabura and Kebede's statement regarding everybody that is hiding behind the cliff. Now, they cannot use the Kaioshin's power for Majin Buu, but everybody else that's there, they're all sensing them, and they pretty much say that everybody else is small fry, only worry about those 3. Now again, that isn't a concrete statement because that is just base Gohan, Goku, and Vegeta, but nonetheless, you have Kebede, this almighty sorcerer Emperor who's telling Dabura, I only want those 3. Everyone else, get rid of them and leave the Kai for me. So even the main villains themselves are telling you that there's only 3 top guys, if you want to use a wrestling statement, and that is Gohan, Goku, and Vegeta, and Gohan being number 3. Piccolo being a character who trains constantly every single day. He actually hates being in times of peace if you go by his conversation with Gohan in the Android Saga, and he constantly tries to improve himself. He's very much like Tenshinhan, Goku, and Vegeta, and even a Piccolo who was incredibly powerful in the Cell arc, able to hold his own against the Cell Juniors. That guy, training for all 7 years, Gohan is still stronger than him. So that goes with what you're saying too, Mike. Yeah, he may have been weaker in the Buu Saga, but he didn't lose that much power because guess what? He's still able to hold his own against Dabura, even though Dabura did have the upper hand. He was still able to hold his own against a Cell level character, but I'll let you get into what version of Cell you think Dabura really was at.
This is something that's been heavily debated by fans ever since the Buu Saga, in terms of exactly which form of Cell Dabura compares to. And the reason we bring up this comparison is because Goku did so himself. First, Vegeta says that Dabura isn't as terrible as you think. We saw him outside, and we could have easily handled him as long as we dodged his saliva. Supreme Kai asks if this was true, and what Goku says is, yeah, at the level we are now anyway. He would have been bad news before though. There was a guy named Cell 7 years ago. I guess they're about the same. So I think that we're given 2 really important bits of information there. Number 1, all of the 3 Saiyans are still capable of defeating Cell in this current state. And number 2, Goku believed that Dabura was on par with Cell. The thing is, of course, who is Goku referring to when he says Cell? Now, a lot of people have tried to say that it could be suppressed Perfect Cell because, again, Goku only fought suppressed Perfect Cell, but Goku was right there when Cell went full power against his son, and on top of that, after Goku died, he was in direct communication with Gohan, and he apparently had the ability to sense what was going on because not only could he sense that Cell was putting out an incredible amount of power and could see the Kamehameha clash going on, but he also could sense that Gohan wasn't using his full power. So if Goku couldn't sense Gohan during that clash, then there's no way that he couldn't have known Gohan wasn't going full power. So I tend to think that when Goku is saying Cell here, he's referring to the Cell who is the last Cell that we encountered and that readers actually read in the manga.
That does make sense because Vegeta doesn't necessarily disagree with Goku's statements either, and Vegeta was right there in the trenches with Gohan, right there in front of Cell as he powered up, so both Gohan and Vegeta have a clear idea of how strong Super Perfect Cell was.
Yeah, and so during Gohan's fight against Dabura, we actually see Goku reevaluate Dabura's power. When he watches the fight and says, "So he uses magic, huh? He's tougher than I thought." And when Goku says, "Than I thought," what he's actually saying is Cell. So I think that Toriyama was using Dabura as kind of a stand-in for Cell in order to kind of hype up just how powerful the Saiyans were around him, and also Majin Buu. And even despite all of this, we see that Gohan is kind of stalemating Dabura.
I think something that needs to be said is, yeah, Gohan lost power, but it wasn't like many times of power as you said earlier, because he's still able to hold his own against Super Perfect Cell level threats, if not even greater. And I think the issue that people are coming up against when it comes to reading the Buu arc is not about how much power Gohan lost, it's about how much power Vegeta and Goku gained. I think at this point, Goku and Vegeta were reintroduced as the new top guys, and Gohan sadly wasn't. It was at the moment when he went Super Saiyan 2 and Vegeta's guesses and his estimates were right, because not only was he pretty much clowning on base Gohan throughout most of the early Buu arc, but once he saw him go Super Saiyan 2, Vegeta was like, yeah, he's still nothing to me. So I think Vegeta and Goku at this point just grew so much that they were just kind of whatever when it came to Super Perfect Cell level threats. But Gohan himself, while he was weaker, I don't believe he lost that much power.
Yeah, and another great example is the fight between Majin Vegeta and Goku when they both become a Super Saiyan 2. Goku transforms into a Super Saiyan 2, and what Vegeta says is, "Pretty good, you're stronger than Gohan." And then Vegeta transforms into a Super Saiyan 2 and is pretty much equal with Goku. So this right here shows you that Goku and Vegeta weren't many times more powerful than Gohan because of the fact that if they were, they would have already been more powerful than Gohan as Super Saiyans, right? They wouldn't have just been more powerful the second they go into their Super Saiyan 2, which is only a 2 times increase from the Super Saiyan form. Furthermore, we have another statement from Vegeta that we're stronger than Gohan is now. Of course, we never know what may happen when he gets mad. Which means that, clearly, he must not be that much behind them. So all of this indicates to me that while Gohan isn't as strong as them, he's still in the same general tier of power. And of course, as we know, Gohan's hidden potential has always been a big factor, which we see demonstrated later on in the arc, when he once again gets unlocked and surpasses both Goku and Vegeta.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So overall, I think we've made a good argument that even though Gohan did lose some power and lost a good amount of his fighting sense because he wasn't really training and going against other opponents for years, I still don't think the amount was really anywhere near as big as fans like to make it out to be. I can't see it being multiple times weaker considering everything that we've seen before this, and I think a lot of it really does come down to the fact that he was not just weaker, but also rusty as a fighter.
Yeah, I agree with you. It wasn't many times weaker, and I think people do tend to exaggerate just how much power he lost because at the end of the day, depending on his hidden potential and if he were to rage out, Goku and Vegeta are still confident that he could be like in their same tier, and plus he was still able to put up a good fight against a super perfect Cell level threat. And one thing you and I talked about off air, which could probably be its own video, is the fact that it may be kind of hard to fathom just how strong Cell Saga Gohan was and how much power he truly lost, because you can kind of make the argument that while he did let out all of his power against Super Perfect Cell in that final Kamehameha, that was after he had been fighting for like a period of time and suffered that arm injury. So who knows just how strong a healthy 100% Cell Saga Gohan would have been.
So how much power do you guys think that Gohan lost between the Cell Saga and the Buu Saga? Let us know in the comments down below. Make sure to check out MJxTV in the end screen and the description. Also, don't forget to like this video and share it out on social media so we can continue to grow and bring you even more content like this in the future. Thanks for watching and make sure to stick around because there's a lot more to come in the future.
Yeah, and you better subscribe.